In late 2009, a small indie game named The Impossible Game was released. It featured simple, side-scrolling platforming gameplay and was very reliant on the player's reaction time and precise timings. This made the game a very good target for YouTube Let's Plays, specifically videos of people raging at the game's difficulty. The game was very popular and arguably is still popular now, with a sequel announced around a year ago. The success of this game would lead to another small developer by the name of RobTop to copy the idea for his own game with the working title Geometry Jump. This seemingly unimportant Impossible game clone would soon turn into one of the biggest precision platformers of all time. The first version of Geometry Dash 1.0 was released on the 13th of August 2013. It was a small game at the time, only being on mobile during its initial release. The game featured 13 icons and 12 colors for the player to customize their look with. The game had 7 main levels at the time. Stereo Madness introduced you to the game and introduced one of the features that set this game apart from the Impossible game, the ship game mode. In this game mode, you have to click and hold to raise the ship and let go to let the ship descend. Back on Track showcased the jump pad object, which would give the player a boost when they touched it. This object could be used with both the cube and the ship, as well as all the game modes to come, except for the wave. Polar Guys introduced the jump ring, an object which would give the player an extra boost when they click the object, whether it be on the ground or midair. Dry Out introduced the gravity portals. While the Impossible game did have this mechanic, in that game the screen just flipped, giving an upside down illusion. In Geometry Dash, when the player enters the portal, all objects on the screen, including the player's icon, flip upside down. This, in tandem, has the potential to make certain parts of the level harder. The last 3 levels, Base After Base, Can't Let Go, and Jumper all combine these mechanics to test what the player has learned. Jumper was the final level in this update and was relatively hard for the small community at the time. However, the main levels weren't all there was to the game. The game allowed the player to make their own levels using objects in the game and upload them for others to play. This feature alone is what has carried the game along for over 9 years. The possibilities for player-made levels were literally endless as long as the player could beat the level to verify it's possible. Players could make really hard levels or they could make really easy levels. There were virtually no limitations at the time besides the verification requirement. Players could choose from one of the 7 main level songs to have as the song for their level. This was when the first players would begin to upload levels such as Real Storm and Darnock. The hardest level at the end of this update is not certain as of right now, but it's believed to be either won by Cody or LV5 by an unknown player. This update cemented the fact that Geometry Dash wasn't just a simple Impossible game clone, but that it was a game that had the potential to become something much, much bigger. Released less than a month after 1.0, Update 1.1 came out on September 10th of 2013. This update added a new level, Time Machine, and a new mechanic, the Mirror Portal. As the name implies, this portal would cause the screen to flip, so instead of the icon going from the right of the screen to the left, it would do the opposite. With the addition of this new portal and the new level having around 15 triple spike jumps, made this the hardest main level at the time. However, not the hardest level around. That title will go to Mind the Gap by Darnock. Why is this level so important? Well, it was one of, if not the hardest level ever made at the time of its release, but it was also the first ever feature level in the game's history. The rate system allows players who make really good and impressive levels to be rewarded for their efforts with creator points. There were 2 different types of rating at the time, those being the standard rate and the aforementioned feature. Getting your level rated rewarded you with 1 single creator point, while getting your level featured gave you 2. These innovations in the creating scene led to so many influential people rising just because of the chance of getting featured. Compared to 1.0, 1.1 was a more quality over quantity update. It didn't have that many new features, but what it did do is change the community forever. By far the biggest update for the game at the time, 1.2 came out on October 14th of 2013. This update introduced a new level, cycles, and a completely new game mode, the Gravity Ball. Cycles used the new game mode and also combined it with the mirror portal, making this level arguably harder than Time Machine, mainly because of the learning curve a new game mode added. Cycles showed that when used correctly, the Gravity Ball could be used as something much harder than the ship and cube, and some players would take heavy advantage of that. Very early on in the update, a player named Mid-M2Call made his now infamous level, Demon Park. This level completely changed the landscape of Geometry Dash. This was by far the hardest level ever made at the time. The extreme difficulty of this level served as a challenge that almost no one could beat. This would lead to others making levels of the same or even harder difficulty, such as To the Grave by Darnock, Extreme Park by Ripples, now known as Rabbidical, the original version of The Nightmare by Jax, and more. These innovations in difficulty would inspire RobTop to implement the demon difficulty in the next update, but we'll get to that. Another person, named Maddie, would make a level that would also revolutionize the difficulty landscape, but in the opposite way. Maddie would make a level called Best Automatic Level, which would be the first auto level in GD. However, the concept was made popular when Jax made his now infamous level, Auto Play Area. These levels would start influencing people to make their own auto levels. But unlike how the demon difficulty got added in the next major update, the auto rating wouldn't be implemented until much later. But again, we'll get to that. Without the revelations made by the community in this update, the game likely wouldn't be where it is today. The demon difficulty would become a difficulty standard that many people would try to have their levels live up to. The introduction of auto levels gave the players a way to make a nice looking level without having the player worry about beating it themselves. These ideas, as stated before, would change Geometry Dash forever. What had started out as a simple Impossible Game clone had very quickly built itself into its own thing. The small community surrounding the game would continue to have new ideas and innovations as new updates came along. But that all is just the beginning of the story. What about later updates? Well, we'll cover more in part 2. But for now, thank you all so much for watching.